This channel is supported by my online fishing courses, and you can learn more and get a significant discount at saltstrong.com/Skinner. I'll have links to all of the gear in the video description. All right, the last 2 seasons have not seen a lot of sizable bluefish on the Long Island shoreline, and I've heard the same thing in other states as well. But so far, 2020, yeah, there's a lot of blues around, and this seems to be, at least on the South Shore, from one end to the other. So yeah, that's what this is about. And I'd love to hear from viewers regarding what they're seeing for bluefish and what they've seen in the previous seasons. So if you have some observations there, please leave a comment. And as always, if you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. And something about these Spring Bay blues, a lot of times they don't show. You see absolutely no indication that the fish are there. That's the case here. If you didn't throw plugs on this, you would have absolutely no idea that these fish are in here. The one indication, if you look closely, is a little bit of a shine on the water. That's an oil slick. With these windy conditions, and it is really windy, that's kind of hard to pick up on, but that's one of the clues. The other clue sometimes is that if they're thick enough, you can smell them. I mean, they're an oily fish, but they're not going to give you much of a visual sign, at least not when the water has a chop on it. Now, I made a couple of mistakes this trip. One is I didn't have any plugs in the bag with single tail hooks, but I crushed these barbs all the way down. There's basically no barb on these. So they come right out, so no problem. I can kind of get away with not having a single hook on the tail end of the plug. This is a very brief thing that happens. A week from now, you won't be able to buy a bluefish over here. And never caught a bass here. Here we go. Come on. Not even one. Come on. Boy, he's in there thick. So I checked the wind readings when I got home, and this is gusting over 30 miles an hour. So I'm doing whatever I can to try to reduce belly in the line with this crosswind. So one of the things is I'm making like the minimum distance cast that I think I need to reach these fish. The more line you put out, the more belly that's going to be in the line. So yep, just kind of, lob casting it there. Finally. Yeah, I don't use a wire leader. I use 50-pound test fluorocarbon, Seagar specifically, which I find very abrasion resistant. And when I made that comment there, finally, that's because I've been catching quite a few blues in the course of the beginning of the season, and I haven't lost any plugs yet. That was the very first one, and yeah, it's standing up really well to the bluefish. But yeah, if they hit it the right way, they're going to cut through any kind of monofilament. But I don't lose many plugs to the bluefish this way. And I like using pencil poppers anyway, but especially when you've got like a longer plug, like this is this is kind of a medium pencil, 6 inches. But the blues end up most of the time on the tail of the plug, and that's keeping them a little bit away from that leader. So yeah, I rarely get cut off like I did on the previous cast. all right, then I put this blue plug on and got this real nice one right away, but then I made like 4 or 5 casts where they just would not eat it. So I had to make a change. Wow. I find it hard to believe that they're being picky. The hooks aren't great anymore on this one. Who knows? It's like forecasts that I'm getting looked at. Nobody eats. But the wind is picked up, so that might be the problem. This is where I wish I had a tsunami talking popper. Dig better, catch the water better. But just back from Florida, I still don't really have my act together yet. Oh, come on. Yeah, eat that one. Yeah, I know it's hard to hear the dialogue over the wind. Yeah, but the wind is a big feature of this trip. Maybe it's what's getting these fish to feed so heavily. Middle of the afternoon, that's what this is. But what I was saying was what I consider the second mistake I made this trip was that I didn't have any tsunami talking poppers with me. I'm using a dark matter pencil, which I love, one of my favorite pencils, but as with any pencil, they're skinny up in the front, and when you make a long cast with a tremendous crosswind like this, they're going to surf on the surface of the water instead of dig and work properly. So I'm fighting that a little bit. A tsunami talking popper has a little bit of a wider mouth. It grabs the water, it digs a little bit, and it would have been just easier under these conditions to use that plug, especially using the XD talking popper, which is a little heavier than the standard. But hey, this is working out just fine. And at the very beginning of this video, I showed those 2 plugs next to each other so that you can see the difference in the head of the plug. And even though I didn't have the plug with me, I did include it in the video description links. Good one. All right. I moved a little bit. Try to narrow the channel a little bit. And then I'm going to just go back to where I was and make long casts with them. Oh, or not. Come on. Oh, I want it all over. Come on, eat it. Nope, there he goes. Boy. Hit it 10 times. Get it. Okay, so why are these fish here? I really don't know. They're not really pushing any bait. In fact, out of all of these fish, only one of them spit up anything, and it was very well digested, looked like a sea robin. I don't usually see them on top. In fact, I will say the only time I see them on top is when it's really calm. You can see them finning, And a lot of times in that situation where they're finning on the very calm water, they're very picky and they don't want to hit, or it takes a lot of effort to get them to hit. So I'm not quite sure what they're doing here. I've heard some people say that, well, they're not hitting because they're in the bays to spawn, but that's not the case. They spawn in the open ocean, so they're not spawning here. They just happen to show up in certain parts of the bays in the spring and provide some good fishing. And yeah, not really clear why they're coming into this area at this time of the year if they're not feeding. But they don't really seem to be feeding heavily, judging by them not spitting up anything, although this guy looks like he's had something to eat. A little chunkier than most of the spring blues. But in general, yep, they're just here, and sometimes they can be pretty picky, not even hit the plugs. Now, as good as this fishing is, it wouldn't surprise me if I go through the rest of the season and don't see very many more bluefish. I mean, typically we get a great fall run along the Sound and ocean beaches, but it just hasn't been happening. So it'll be interesting to see if the good spring fishing translates to good fall fishing, but a lot of times it doesn't. A lot of times these spring blues, they pass through and that's it. We don't see them again.
Wow, what a hit, or blow up. Come on.
I'm not usually one to pursue bluefish, but when they're this size, they're a lot of fun. So yeah, I like catching them. And I really feel like I'm going to take advantage of it while they're here, because who knows how it's going to play out. So again, I would love to hear in the comment section what other people have seen the past couple of years and what they're seeing this year regarding bluefish. And as always, if you like the video, please hit the like button. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.